Activated by Temperance Spirits. Temperance Spirits, creating a space for change.
Welcome back to Game Over Edmonton, your local leader in post-game Oilers analysis. In this episode, it's fueled by Temperance Spirits, the city's leading non-alcoholic beverage provider.
Visit Temperance online for a curated section of non-alcoholic options. Choose from a variety of craft beers, mocktails, wines, and spirits.
Temperance isn't just a retailer, it's a community of Edmontonians who celebrate the spirit of socializing without the need for alcohol. And with Temperance Spirits online shop, ordering your favorite non-alcoholic bevvies right to your door is as easy as Connor scoring the winning goal.
You can find our partners at Temperance online at www.temperance-spirits.com for delivery to your door, and use the code SDPN for 10% off your order at checkout.
And give them a follow on Instagram and Facebook at Temperance Spirits.
Hello, Edmonton Oilers fans, and welcome to Game Over Edmonton. Yes, I am not Avery. I am not Dennis. I am not Zach. I can only hope to be as good as those manly men. My name is Clay Imoo. I'm also known as Canuck Clay on YouTube and on X, and I am one of the 4 co-hosts of Game Over Vancouver. However, Avery can't do home games because he's there he's there at the arena. I think Zach has an exam. I'm actually not sure what Dennis is doing tonight. So when they sent the call out for someone to cover for them, I gladly said yes, because a nice chance for me to learn about another team, a nice chance for me to be with all of you and get to know some of you Edmonton Oilers fans. I know there's some Canucks fans in here. I recognize a lot of the names in there, but yes, that is why I am here, and I am thrilled to be here. So as we get going, as we get ready to talk about the big Edmonton Oilers 4-3 victory over the Minnesota Wild, it's Edmonton Oilers' 6th straight victory. They are now only 1 game under 500. They are 11-12-1 after starting the season 2-9-1. They've won 9 of their last 12, and they have passed Seattle now. They have Calgary in their sights, and as they look to climb up the Pacific Division rankings. We're going to get into all of that. We're going to break down the game. I'm going to talk about Vancouver versus Edmonton and what's going to happen in that playoff chase, because I think that's a pretty cool story, and I can bring in my Canucks knowledge a little bit for you guys. And then at the very end, I'll answer all of your questions as well as part of the Game Over presser. So yes, thank you. I feel very welcome. I see Dacky welcoming me. Thank you, Dacky. I see others welcoming me. I appreciate it. Yeah, I think it's gonna be a fun 30 to 40 minutes. I've done my research. Don't worry, I'm not gonna look like a total idiot when it comes to the Oilers, but I think I know enough to at least get me through the next 30 or 40 minutes. So before we get going, and yes, anyone else that comes in late, if they're wondering why it's me, just explain to them in the chat why it's me, and just say the 3 usual guys couldn't be here, and then I don't have to keep saying it over and over and over. Okay, as we get going, subscribe to SDPN, this channel, the Steve Dangle Podcast Network. We cover all 7 Canadian cities. Obviously, we help out each other when we need to. By the way, there was one game in November where none of the 4 Vancouver co-hosts could host a Game Over Vancouver when the Canucks beat the Stars. And Avery from Game Over Edmonton was nice enough to fill in for us. So always happy to return the favor. And like I said, meet some new fans across the country as well. So subscribe to SDPN, this channel, the Steve Dangle Podcast Network. We are 97,000 subscribers, trying to get to 100,000. Not sure if we're going to get there before the end of this year, but that would be pretty cool. So make sure you subscribe, make sure you hit the notification button so you can get notified of all our videos across the entire network. And like the video as well. Like the fact that we are here talking about an Edmonton Oilers victory, their 6th straight, like I said. And like the fact that even though your 3 regular hosts couldn't be here, that I'll be able to chat with you guys for the next little bit. And thank you again to everyone for their words of welcome tonight. So let's break down the game first. Then we'll talk about what a playoff series or playoff ramifications or playoff chase is going to look like for the final 2/3 of the season. And then I'll make sure I block off some time at the very end to go over your questions. And probably that middle part of the show too is going to be about Evander Kane and his hit on Jonas Brodin. So I have an interesting perspective because I'm a Vancouver Canucks fan and a Canucks content creator. Today it was interesting because I wanted the Oilers to win because I think the mood in the chat will be a lot better. I wanted the Oilers to lose, admittedly, only in terms of, not because I'm a jerk, but in terms of the playoff race and the ramifications. Obviously, Minnesota's not in the Pacific Division, whereas Edmonton is quickly catching up to Vancouver in the standings. But overall, I was quite objective. It didn't matter. I just want to see an entertaining game. And I will say, this start to finish, this 4-3 victory for the Oilers over the Wild was way better, a way better game, much more entertaining than last night's Canucks victory. And the Canucks won last night. The Canucks beat the same Minnesota Wild team 2-0 in a very slow, kind of low event game in Vancouver yesterday. Then Minnesota flew out from Vancouver to Edmonton today. So Oilers fans, you're welcome, because we took them down last night. We softened them up, and then they had to, I think they got to the Edmonton hotel, from everything I read, between 2 and 3 a.m. And of course, that's tough. Then they get up. I'm not sure if the Minnesota had a morning skate or if they just kind of rested and then went to the arena. But yes, it was a tag team. We took care of the Wild last night, and then you took care of them tonight. Now, here's the interesting thing. Last night, the first period was basically the carbon copy of this first period tonight, but exactly the opposite. And don't worry, I won't keep referring to last night's game, but it was really interesting. I knew that I was going to do the show today, so I was able to do some scouting. I was able to see what Minnesota did last night and kind of compare it to what they did tonight. The biggest difference was Gustafsson was in net for against the Canucks last night, whereas obviously Marc-Andre Fleury played tonight, and he played very well despite the score. He made 36 saves, and Marc-Andre Fleury was the only reason why the game was so close, I think. So last night, Minnesota completely dominated the Canucks, although the Canucks came out of the first period with a 1-0 lead. Today, it was Edmonton that dominated Minnesota. And I think the shots yesterday were 12-4 for Minnesota over Vancouver. Today, it was 18-4 for the Oilers over the Wild. And yes, the Oilers looked super good in the first period, and they almost didn't get actually rewarded at all. But with 5 minutes left, it was Evan Bouchard, his point in his 10th straight game, which is pretty impressive. It was actually Quinn Hughes that was leading the league with an active point streak until that got snapped a couple weeks ago. And now Evan Bouchard's right up there with a point in his 10th straight game. And I knew this guy had a bomb. Like, we have Philip Hronek in Vancouver who's got a bomb, but Bouchard has a bomb. And I think Bouchard gets his shot more shot through the net, to the net, better than Hronek does for the Canucks. Regardless, the Oilers had some zone time. It was the McDavid, Nugent Hopkins, Hyman line. They're so good. I really enjoyed watching this game, actually, with no kind of skin in the game, with no dog in the fight, so to speak, just to watch it quite naturally, objectively. I actually enjoyed this game. I really did. And I had to pay attention knowing that I was going to talk about it with all of you. But the Nugent Hopkins, Hyman, McDavid line had some really good zone time. And then it turns out going back to Bouchard with a strong snapshot. And I believe he puts this past Fleury's glove. Actually, 3 of the 4 goals tonight went past Marc-Andre Fleury's glove. So it was a great start. It was Bouchard's 6th goal of the season. Yeah, I'm just checking real quick. Yeah, they held some zone time for sure. And then it was a beautiful pass actually from Nugent Hopkins, cross seam from the bottom of the crease, not the crease, the face-off circle, all the way to Bouchard's familiar place in the top right corner. And he snapped a shot past Marc-Andre Fleury. So the Oilers not only outshoot the Minnesota Wild 18-4, but they go into the break ahead 1-0. Yeah, tell LO mate why it's me. Remember, that's your guys' job in the chat, is not only get your questions ready for later, but anyone that's new and asking why is Canuck Clay doing an Edmonton Oilers game over, you guys have to tell everyone in the chat the fact that the other 3 co-hosts are busy tonight. Second period was a bit more even for sure, although Edmonton still outshot Minnesota 14-7. But it was Minnesota scoring 2 goals in 26 seconds. And it was a brutal start for the Oilers. Right off the opening faceoff, the line of Johansson, Boldy, and Eriksson take control in the Oilers zone. And then actually, when you look at the goal, and I've watched this a few times, it basically came down to a 2-on-2 battle between Eriksson and Boldy and Nurse and Ceci. And it was just 2-on-2. And I think it was Eriksson and Nurse were mixing it up to Skinner's left. And then Matt Boldy simply outmuscled Cody Ceci to the crease. and put the puck behind Stuart Skinner. So it's 1-1, no big deal. You never love to give up a goal in the first minute of a period. You certainly don't want to give up a goal in the last minute of a period. And that was 15 seconds in the period. But to make it worse, just 26 seconds later, it was the same line. Eriksson Ek, Boldy, and Johansson's just stayed on. Why would you change after only 15 seconds? And this was yet another 2-on-2 where I think it was Eriksson Ek and Boldy came in on Bouchard and Ekholm. And they kind of crossed. And as they crossed, Ekholm and kind of went with Boldy instead. And then Bouchard didn't react fast enough to take Eriksson Ek. So Boldy crossed in front of Eriksson Ek. And as Boldy does that, Ekholm was playing on his left side, follows him. That's fine as long as Bouchard then cuts back and takes Eriksson Ek, but he doesn't. Bouchard just stands there, and Eriksson Ek wrists a shot past Stuart Skinner. So what was a 1-0 lead at the end of the first period became a 2-1 deficit to Minnesota just 1 minute into the second period. But then just 40 seconds after that, so we had 3 goals in the first minute 21 of the second period. Connor McDavid. Now, I obviously I know how good McDavid is. I have him in my keeper league, my fantasy league, and so I've had him for 10 years that he's been in the league. So I really enjoy him as a player. But he made a play that I think only 3 or 4 players in this league can make because of his speed. Doesn't have the biggest reach in the world, but he's got the skill and just the mindset. So he comes in, another 2-on. It was very similar to the Minnesota goal, the Eriksson Ek goal. It was a 2-on-1. Is McDavid and Hopkins against Nugent Hopkins against whoever the 2 Minnesota defense was. And then they did a crisscross. Minnesota actually covered it better than Edmonton covered the other one, where one guy stayed with Nugent Hopkins and the other guy tried to get McDavid. But then McDavid was so smart. He went around Fleury as if he was going to go behind the net with his forehand, but then he was able to backhand it in to the net from behind the goal line. And if you watch the replay, I'm not sure what Kaprizov was doing. Instead of going towards the net and trying to cut off McDavid's shooting attempt, he actually took the long way around on Marc-Andre Fleury and then made it even tougher for Fleury to make that save. Whereas if Kaprizov went straight to the crease, which I think he should have done in hindsight, he might have stopped that goal. Regardless, it was a wonderful play by McDavid, and it was a really, really skilled play, a play that I don't think many players could make. So now it's 2-2, and it's anyone's game. Still more goals. Then it was Connor Dewar off kind of a broken play. The Minnesota Wild held the puck in the Oilers zone, and then Hartman just kind of slapped at the puck from behind the net, and Dewar ripped a one-timer past Stuart Skinner, and that was about 12 minutes into the second period. So now the Wild are up 3-2, taking over their lead. But then it was a power play at the end of the second period, and I like watching the Canucks power play. The Edmonton power play is a thing of beauty. They just move the puck so fast. And obviously McDavid is the best player in the world. Draisaitl's got that wicked one-timer from the right side. And then you have Bouchard, who can just smoke people from the point. And then you still have Nugent Hopkins and Hyman on there. That's a very, very skilled, skilled power play. And I see that they move the puck really quickly. I was quite impressed with that. Anyways, with Matt Zuccarello out of the play in the penalty box, the Oilers take advantage, and it was basically a one-timer from Draisaitl from a spot on the right side, beating Marc-Andre Fleury to his glove. You hear that one more time. And then it was 3-3 heading into the third period. Now, this is where it gets a little crazy. So it's 3-3. It's anyone's game. Minnesota's probably trying to at least get to extra time on a back-to-back on the road. That'll be a victory for them, a moral victory at least. Edmonton looking to keep their 5-game win streak going. And then early in the period, Jonas Brodin is retrieving a puck from behind his net. And then Evander Kane comes to speed. And Kane's fast, and he's a big player. I remember the second game of the season, he smoked Filip Hronek behind the net. I actually thought Hronek was going to get injured. That play was different. That Hronek was coming from the other side, so he could see Kane coming. This one, Kane, and I admittedly, when I saw it, my first reaction, well, that wasn't that bad. And then I watched the replay and I said, oh, that was kind of bad. So again, I don't have a dog in the fight. I'm not clamoring for Kane to be suspended. I'm not, whatever it is, but Kane hits Brodin in the back, in the numbers. And then Brodin's his head hits the glass, but I think it's also one of his knees, his legs also hits the boards quite awkwardly. He goes to the bench, and then Kane knows that something's going to happen. And then Ryan Hartman decides to just kind of tackle Kane near the boards, but not against the boards. They were about 8-10 feet away from the boards. And then Hartman goes into the penalty box for roughing. And I know the Edmonton Oilers, I watched it on Sportsnet Plus. They were saying, the Edmonton region, the broadcasters were saying that, oh, good on Kane to show some restraint, to not retaliate, to not take a penalty against Hartman. And sure enough, the Oilers go on the power play, and this time it's Bouchard with his second of the night, his seventh of the season. And this one was tricky because I think one of the Minnesota Wild forwards lost the stick, went to the bench, got a new one. They actually had one or two opportunities to clear it, but Bouchard did a really good job keeping the puck in on the blue line. And then Draisaitl from down below up top to Bouchard, and then Foligno tries to block it, or at least I don't know what he was doing, did a flyby, screen Fleury. Fleury didn't even get in a stance, and then just kind of waved at it with his glove. So a third shot that passed Fleury on his glove side, and Bouchard with his second of the night turns out to be the game-winning goal. Then the third period was quite entertaining. The shots were very even. It was in the third period, it was 9-8 for Minnesota, the only period of the three that Minnesota actually outshot Edmonton. And there was quite a scramble right at the end of the game. I can't remember who took that last shot with a few seconds left, but Skinner made a really good save. And then Hartman and Ekholm, who were both antagonistic throughout the entire night, they got cross-checking penalties with no time left on the clock as the whistle sounded. So you add it all together, and Edmonton wins 4-3. Stuart Skinner makes 17 saves for the win. Marc-Andre Fleury makes 36 saves in the loss. So yes, Edmonton doubled the Minnesota Wild shot. They outshot them 40-20. Faceoffs were relatively equal. Edmonton did damage on the power play though, 2 for 4, whereas Minnesota went 0 for 2. Hits, Minnesota led 22-17. Block shots were about even. So across the stats, across most stats lines, except for the shots, it was pretty even. You look at natural stat trick and you're saying, okay, the shots say it was 40-20 for Edmonton. What do the advanced stats say? And the advanced stats say that, yes, the Oilers' expected goals was 2.6, and then Minnesota's expected goals was 1.4. So basically 3-1, it should be in the final. And then high danger chances, no surprise, Edmonton had 12 and Minnesota only had 6. Finally, you look at the actual stats for this game. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, what can you say? 4 assists for him in 21 minutes of ice time. So he had 4, Bouchard had 3, 2 goals and an assist. Then Draisaitl pitched in 2 points, a goal and assist. Connor McDavid pitched in 2, a goal and assist as well. And high ice time, McDavid had 21:44. Nugent-Hopkins had 21:05. Draisaitl had 21. So those three, the big three, had 21. And then low man, Gagne had 7:45, and Hamblin, who I don't know anything about, had 7:37. On D, the big four got 21 to 24 minutes between the four of them. Bouchard, Ceci, Ekholm, Nurse, and then Kulak and Desharnais had 12 and 13 minutes respectively. So there we go, Oilers fans, a big 4-3 victory. And with this victory, it's kind of interesting because in Vancouver, we've been just talking about the Vancouver Canucks trying to chase down Vegas. Then LA just whips past them in the standings because LA is playing so good. But and then we were Canucks fans were relishing in their 3-1 victory over not 3-1, their 3 victories over the Oilers in the first 4 weeks of the season. And then Canucks fans just kind of forgot about the Oilers because they were started 2-9-1. Oilers fired their coach, and they win 3, they lose 3, and then they win another 3. They win another 6 now. So they have won 9 of the last 12. And now the Oilers have 23 points in 24 games, just 1 game under 500. They're only 2 points behind Calgary, but with 2 games in hand. So you could argue that Edmonton could pass Calgary once they play those 2 games in hand. And then, so that means Edmonton would have passed Anaheim, Seattle, Calgary, and guess who the next team on the radar will be? The Vancouver Canucks. I don't think the Canucks, truly, as much as I want them, I'm not sure if they're going to be able to keep up with Vegas and LA for the entire season. So really, for Vancouver Canucks fans, it's looking over their shoulder and seeing the Edmonton Oilers surging. Now, the Canucks still have a 12-point gap over the Oilers, which is good, but the Oilers have 3 games in hand on the Canucks. So they win all 3 of those, and now it's only a 6-point deficit. Yes, it's hard to make up points, but the Oilers, obviously winning 9 of their past 12, are making up those points very, very quickly. So as a Canucks fan, I'm not worried, but the Oilers, watching the Oilers tonight, I can see why they can be dangerous. If Stuart Skinner plays well or well enough, he wasn't great tonight, but he was good. And if, the big 4 on the blue line play well, a couple of miscues, but we're used to that in Vancouver as well. And then obviously the top 6 is so strong on this team, led by McDavid and Draisaitl. I can see, and a lot of people in Vancouver were saying, watch out for this Oilers team. And we are seeing it happen right before our eyes. Let's talk about the Evander Kane hit now. And this one, I will turn to you in the chat, because my only experience with Evander Kane is he came into the bowling alley that my son Sean was working at. All my kids are competitive bowlers. My followers from Vancouver know that. And Evander Kane actually came into the bowling alley, took a picture with my son Sean, which is pretty cool, and then complained about how expensive the bowling rates were. That still doesn't register with me. I can't fathom how a $1 million millionaire was complaining about a $5 bowling game, but that's neither here nor there. That was a few years ago. Maybe it's more mature now. It's fine. But you Oilers fans, let me know what you think about that hit. Actually, anyone, it doesn't have to be Oilers fans. Let me know what you think about that hit. Does Evander Kane have a history of that? I know he can hit hard. He's not afraid to be an antagonist. But Oilers fans, as unbiased as you can be, let me know what you thought about that hit. So I'll take some of your comments about the hit specifically, and then we can turn it over to questions about other elements of tonight's game. But yeah, I want to get your thoughts on that hit, you guys. Evander Kane on Jonas Brodin behind the net. What do you guys think about that hit? Is he going to get suspended? I don't think even, he didn't get a penalty even on the play. Hey, some stranger. Yes, all 3 of the Edmonton guys. Avery doesn't do the home games because he's at the arena. I believe Zach has an exam, and I'm not sure what Dennis is doing. So some stranger. That's why you have this stranger here on your stream tonight. So let me know, you guys. Let me know what you guys thought about the Evander Kane hit on Jonas Brodin behind the net. And yes, some stranger, I realize that to catch the wild card spot, the Oilers are chasing 2 teams from the Central Division right now. I fully understand that, but as we've been saying in Vancouver, as people know, if you can finish 3rd in your division, then you don't even worry about a wild card spot. You just outright finish 3rd in your division. So some stranger is saying, what's surprising is how Brodin turned his back on Kane. Yeah, I'll have to watch it back again. I'm not sure if Brodin turned his back like where Kane didn't have a chance to even react or change his angle or his path. I'm not convinced of that, and I have to rewatch it again. But I asked you as the ones that watched it probably even more than I did, watched it back, if it was indeed a dirty play or just an unfortunate play because of a mistimed turn by Brodin. I know on the broadcast, the Oilers broadcasters were even saying that they thought it should have been penalized. MPaps says, big Kane fan, but bad hit. Should have been at least a 2. And I saw you guys talking about earlier. Have they said anything about that he's going to have a hearing with the DOPS, the Department of Player Safety? I'm not sure if they've tweeted, announced, or anything like that, or if you guys No, I saw someone mention it earlier in the chat. Let me know. Travis says should have been a penalty, but shouldn't be a suspension. Okay. And then Rising says Brodeen's shoulders don't pivot since above the circle. So you're saying that he did not turn his back. He had that was his natural path was to go behind the net with his back turned from a standpoint. And then I guess what you're saying is it's not like he turned suddenly, whereas Kane had no chance to avoid that hit. Very interesting. Very interesting. Any more thoughts, you guys, on the Kane hit? I would really, really fascinating to see what you guys think about it for sure. Also, I'd love to know right now, are you Oilers fans? Are you pretty confident in their ability to catch the Canucks for third place in the Pacific? Or admittedly, are you more focused on just getting over 500 and chasing down the wild card spots first? Obviously, they have to go in order. They have to chase. If they pass the wild card spots, then it's because they're battling for a third in the division. So let me know, Oilers fans, what you think of that. So let's talk about both the hit from Kane. Then let's talk about your thoughts on their chances of still salvaging the season, a season that started so poorly, and actually capturing a playoff spot, whether it's one of the 2 wild card spots or actually catching a team like the Canucks for third overall in the Pacific Division. Some stranger says, could see Kane going for a hit from a mile away. We could, but are you saying that Brodeen could as well? Rising says, right, his feet turn to stop, but his shoulders don't move at all. Okay. Wise Kyle. I almost said whiskey. Maybe I need new glasses. Wise Kyle says Kane's hit was on the edge, but fine. Interesting use of the words fine, meaning I guess you're saying it was justified in not being penalized. So that's fair. That's fair. Luke says, the one thing I know about how hits should be penalized is that everyone has a different opinion. That's true. I think with anything, especially in hockey, I'm learning that everyone does have a different opinion and everyone is wrong to someone. But Luke, yes, I hear you. I agree with you, but I would love to know your opinion. Travis says, never worry that the Oilers were out of it. They're still gunning for the division. That is totally fair. Wise Kyle says Oilers will finish second. Wow. So Wise Kyle is saying that they're going to pass the Canucks, likely because the Canucks will stay in third, and then one of Vegas or the Kings. Interesting. Some stranger. No, the wild card spot is what's realistic. They dug such a big hole early in the season. Yeah, they did, but they're certainly digging out of it for sure. Rising said that guy is unhinged. Are you talking about me? Luke, I'm not an Oilers fan, but I'm amazed they've come back as hard as they have. I thought they would be selling at the deadline. I look solidly wrong now, and I'm so glad. It makes for better hockey. Yeah, truly. I'm not sure if you guys heard me at the start as an honest Canucks fan and Canucks content creator that would never lie to you. I was torn. I wanted them to win because I knew the mood would be better, but I also wanted them to lose from a playoff race standpoint. So, but overall, those two wants evened out, and I was neutral as I was watching. Wise Kyle says Brodeen saw him coming. He was on the tracks of the Kane train. So I think Wise Kyle and some stranger are together in their opinion. Travis says, I think the Kings will likely take the division. They look pretty solid. Yeah, I think they've only had 4 regulation losses and 3 extra time losses. Pretty crazy. They're only 4 points behind Vegas, but they have 4 games in hand. Oh, Rising. No, I'm not the one unhinged. The guy called the hit fine. No, I know everyone's got their opinion. Wise Kyle says the Canucks will be the first wild card. Oh, it's confusing because he wrote it backwards. I mean, I have to just read it backwards. So Vegas first, Oilers second, LA third, and the Canucks in the wild card. Admittedly, that's what I thought when the season started for the Canucks. I said they were 95, 96 points, get one of the 2 wild card spots. Then the Canucks started like 8 or 9 games over 500, which is crazy. They've come down a little bit. No, they're still 8 games over 500. So we shall see if the Canucks can indeed keep up their strong play. Yeah, they're 17-9-1. So yeah, that's going to be a very intriguing story to watch for sure. Lurker, I like that name, says it's the ref's discretion on the hit, but a 2-minute minor is what it looked like. So we have a vote for a 2-minute minor. Some stranger says, still need a goalie. Skinner can only do so much. Yeah, I'm really fascinated too, Oilers fans, if you're confident in your goaltending right now. And has Jack Campbell been called up yet, or is he still down on the farm for you guys? Coach Rob, Edmonton should trade for Kuzmenko. He's a good player. Maybe give Vancouver a second or third round pick. Yeah, can the Oilers afford Kuzmenko and his $5.5 million salary, though? Wise Kyle said the Canucks and Kings PDO is historically high. Yeah, I can't speak for LA, Kyle, but I do know that the Canucks PDO has come back to earth over the past 10 games for sure. Travis says the Oilers definitely don't need Kuzmenko. I think Coach Rob was just trying to sell him. And then some stranger already said Kuzmenko already chose Vancouver over Edmonton. Really, really good points. Love the chat, you guys. This is really good. I'm learning a lot in researching before the game. I was learning a lot about the Oilers in watching the game, obviously, and watching them play. Because even when the Oilers played the Canucks, I just watch the Canucks, and I worry about how we're trying to stop McDavid and Draisaitl. I don't look at the finer nuances of Evan Bouchard's shot or the way Ekholm is so solid, or Hyman or Nugent Hopkins. So today was actually admittedly a treat for me. I'm not sucking up either. Why do I need to suck up? I'm just telling you what I think. And then some stranger says Campbell coming up soon. Very good. All right, friends, for the last 5 to 10 minutes or so, let's do our game over presser, which is Q&A. So ask me any questions about what I think about the Oilers. Tell me if I said anything wrong about the Oilers. You can ask me any questions about the Canucks or the Pacific Division overall, but here's a chance to just naturally continue to engage with all of you in the chat. While you are getting your questions in, make sure you subscribe to the SDPN channel, hit the notification bell, and like the video. It helps us out a lot. And if you're listening on a podcast platform, make sure you rate and review as well. So let's keep going into the chat. Luke says, can the Oilers afford to be worrying about things they can't afford? Are they still in cup or bust mode? Truly, Luke, as a outsider, as a Vancouver Canucks fan, I would say anytime you have McDavid and Draisaitl on your team, you should be in cup or bust mode. I really think that. And I think the fact that they've put this string together of 9 out of 12 wins, and including 6 straight, whether you call it cup or bust or playoff or bust, I don't think there's one player or one staff member that thought, even when they were 2-9-1, that the season was over. Maybe some Edmonton fans thought that. I know Avery and Dennis and Zach have talked about that a lot on this channel. But you got to get the playoffs first. But I certainly think this team the Oilers should always be a perennial playoff contender. And then they've gotten so close to the at least in certain playoff appearances, they've gotten close to the conference finals, the finals. So I'm sure they're hungry for a cup for sure. Wise Kyle says, Janmark became the first player to win his 500th game on his birthday. Wait, to win? So not only play his 500th game, but actually win it on his birthday? That's interesting. So I was almost going to say, what's such a crazy stat? Because it should be 50% win or lose. And then I realized, no, the key point of that stat is on his birthday, not 500 games. Thank you, Kyle, for letting me know. David says, of the Habs and the Flames, it's a continuation. David, you got to shorten your comments so I can read them all in one. Stranger, Kuzmenko came to Edmonton and Holland couldn't sell it. Yeah, that's interesting. Kuzmenko, for you guys know, 39 goals last year for the Canucks, but only has 4 so far this year. Kyle, what do you think the Oilers should pick up? And I should stop saying an outsider because it sounds like I don't watch hockey or anything. But as a non-Oilers fan, all we hear about is goaltending. We see the depth of the top 6. I think the bottom 6 is fine. You have some good players, decent players. The fourth line maybe not so good, but your third line's fine. Your top 4D are pretty good. So maybe I think, to me, as someone from out of market, I'll say that instead of outsider, someone out of market, there's a lot of questions, discussion about the goaltending. And I get that Stuart Skinner is only in his 2nd season, so maybe he'll be fine. But to me, it's goaltending for sure. And Wise Kyle says, as an outsider, love it. Love it. Carol says, Clay, you're doing a great job. Thank you, Carol. I appreciate that. Yeah, some stranger, cup or bust, because Connor and Leon's current contracts are expiring soon. That's a really, really good point. And actually, stranger, as a follow-up to that, it's interesting on the Vancouver market, Elias Pettersson is RFA at the end of the season, finishing his 6th year. So he's had 2 contracts of 3 years. So what we're talking about in Vancouver a lot is what is going to be his next contract. And then we look at the comparables, and then it's hard to fathom that Connor McDavid is only making what he's making. Obviously, it's still a lot of money, but compared to, he's not the highest, paid player in the league at 12.5. There are a couple more making more than McDavid, right? But David's at 12.5. He's 2 more years after this. And I see Draisaitl at 8.5. What a steal with 1 more year after this. Yeah, that's a great point. And if they don't make substantial, they don't have to make moves to the team, but if they don't have success, maybe Draisaitl at the end of his contract next year just says, no, I want to try a different city for sure. Great point. Great point. David says, in terms of where I see the Oilers at best finishing a top 3 divisional spot as possible, but much further away, in my opinion, than a wild card spot. Yeah, but the way they're playing, you never know. And 2 prior posts, how close the Oilers have come on points percentage to the Flames and Habs. Yeah, they'll pass them for sure. For sure. Wise Kyle says, Jack's going to come up and kill it. Trust me. So Kyle, very curious. I like Jack Campbell a lot too. My cousin Dusty is a goaltending coach and worked a lot extensively with Jack Campbell in the LA Kings organization. Do you think that Jack is going to end up being the starter over Stuart Skinner though? I know he's got the $5 million contract, right? Some stranger says the Canes are experiencing the same thing the Oilers have, goaltending or lack thereof. Yeah, you guys saw that on Wednesday when you pummeled them 6-1 and you chased Kochetkov from the crease. Yeah, I don't know. I think I like the Oilers goaltending more than I like the Canes goaltending. By the way, it's funny you mentioned that the Canes make sense, whereas Minnesota played in Vancouver and then headed to you for tonight. The Canes, I think they did Edmonton, then Calgary, and then they're playing. I'm going to the game where they're playing in Vancouver tomorrow. Wise Kyle, where will Ohtani sign and when? Well, it doesn't sound like it's going to be Toronto, does it? I don't follow baseball enough. I know my son, Sean, the same guy who took the picture with Evander Kane, has got a nice Ohtani jersey from last season. I don't know. I don't know enough about baseball to give you a very educated guess. Luke says, cover bus after the start they got is risky. All power to them unless they come up against my favorite team in the final. Who's your favorite team, Luke? But bust with McDraisaitl, if you've sold the farm, would be so painful. Yeah, that's true. And are they going to sell the farm? I'm not sure what the track record of Ken Holland has been in Edmonton and the way he's tinkered with the lineup. Here's one thing I don't know anything about the Oilers, and I would love for you to educate me, is how good is their prospect system? Vancouver's prospect system, as soon as Pettersson and Hughes weren't prospects and Demko weren't prospects anymore, it went like way down, and they're slowly beefing it up once again with some strong drafting. So let me know how good the Oilers prospect system is and what people are saying about it. Good points. Doug says, I only came here for Clay. Well, that's nice. I only came here for all of you. Wise Kyle, I'll state my bias. Jack's my cousin. Okay. I appreciate that, but was the better goalie from April 1st of last season? No, Wise Kyle, I appreciate that. I'm not sure if everyone in here, the regulars in Game Over Vancouver, know that he's your cousin. No, I appreciate that. We're all about stating our biases tonight and being honest and open with each other. And you're saying that the Edmonton Oilers farm system is bare. Luke, your favorite team is the Leafs. Oh, so you must be praying for a Leafs-Oilers final. Friends, we'll go for 2 more minutes, so get your last questions in for me. Either Oilers, my impressions of the Oilers, impression of this game, playoff race, Evander Kane, Canucks, whatever you want, and then we'll wrap it up in the next couple of minutes. Coach Rob, a regular in the Vancouver channels, is saying the Oilers should hire Jim Benning because we really miss him in Vancouver. Remember, Coach Rob is the same guy that tried to sell you Andrei Kuzmenko about 10 minutes ago, so take that for what it's worth. That's awesome, Coach Rob. Some stranger says a couple of decent prospects, but nothing promising. So, yeah, that just speaks to the urgency of the win now then, because you obviously, McDavid and Draisaitl, you can't sell them on staying for a rebuild, especially if A, they're getting older, and B, the prospect system, the prospect pool isn't that great in Edmonton, then what are you selling them on? And I think that's a very, very tricky thing. And actually, that's a really good point, because that's the same. It's analogous to what we've been talking about in Vancouver for Elias Pettersson. There's still a question of what's the holdup? Is it the Canucks waiting, or is it PD waiting, or is it both of them waiting? But part of it is you're not going to sell PD on a rebuild. What you're going to sell PD on is that we have a chance to win now. And I think actually the Canucks quick start has surprised a lot of people. Duck, the Elks and the Oilers played the same when the Oilers had that horrible start to the season. Yeah, the Elks were not good. I know that. Hey, Billy C is here. If it's the same Billy C that I think that I know. Wise Kyle says the Sharks GM was in the building. Your thoughts? The Sharks GM was in the Edmonton building tonight? I wonder who they are trying to peddle, or who they're scouting. I don't know. That's interesting. Yeah, and the Wise Kyle says, what is he looking at on the Oilers? I don't know. I'm looking at the Oilers cap friendly page, and the UFAs are Fogle, Janmark, Brown, Gagne, Ernie, Desharnais, and Calvin Pickard. So not a lot. There's not a lot there. Slim pickings when it comes to the UFAs. I see. Wow, I didn't know Nugent Hopkins was signed for so long, and Zach Hyman. That's good. Both $6 million, less than $6 million. That's pretty good. Luke says the hockey lover in me would love an Oilers Leafs final. The Leafs lover in me is terrified of that. So are you saying that you think the Oilers will beat the Leafs in a final? That's very interesting for sure. Some stranger, Nurse, Nuge, Hyman, all signed long term. Yeah, I was just looking at that. And then I didn't know that Nurse, yikes, 9.25. And I'm not trying to start a debate or a fight, but I'll take Quinn Hughes at 7.8 over Darnell Nurse at 9.25. Although Hughes is going to need a new contract in a couple of years, but still. I do like Ekholm, and I like Bouchard a lot. Bouchard at 3.9 is pretty good. And thank you, Billy, for being here because of me, although I'm going to be wrapping up in the next minute or so. So Oilers fans, thank you. Thank you for putting up with me, for welcoming me. Don't worry. Some combination of Zach, Avery, and Dennis will be back after the Oilers' next game, which I believe is, when is it? It is on Sunday against the New Jersey Devils. It makes sense that all the teams that you're playing, we're playing at the same time, because all these teams make their Western Canada swing. So you played Carolina on Wednesday. We have them tomorrow. We played Minnesota last night. You played them today, beat them 4-3. And then we lost in New Jersey last Tuesday. They're heading, I guess, east now. And you get them on Sunday afternoon. Wow. Oilers are in the middle of a massive homestand, just like the Canucks are as well. So once again, Oilers fans, thank you. It's been my pleasure to fill in for Game Over Edmonton tonight. And I enjoyed watching the game, quite frankly. I enjoyed watching McDavid, Draisaitl, Bouchard. A 4-3 victory for the Edmonton Oilers. They're 6th straight. They are now only one game under 500 as they have their eyes locked on the two Central Division teams that they're chasing. Actually, 3 of them that they're chasing for a wildcard spot. And then once I know they're going to succeed in doing that, then they're going to have their eyes locked in on the Vancouver Canucks. But we'll worry about that for another stream. So on your way out, make sure that you subscribe to this YouTube channel, SDPN. Make sure that you hit the notification bell. Make sure that you like the video as well. It helps us with the algorithm. And if you're listening on a podcast platform, make sure you rate and review. So thank you, Oilers fans, for welcoming me. Thank you, Canucks fans, for coming over and hanging out. And I can't wait to maybe hang out with Dennis, Zach, or Kyle, or Avery. Excuse me. I just looked at Kyle's chat. Dennis, Zach, or Avery on maybe the next crossover stream. I think the Canucks and the Oilers get to face each other one more time before the season ends. And who knows, maybe somehow, some way we get to play each other in the playoffs. So I hope you guys have a great weekend and that you stay safe and you stay healthy and that you take care of yourselves and take care of each other. Have a great night and thanks again. Take care, everyone. Good night.